Hi, and welcome to another episode of Social Media Made Simple. My guest today is Michal Leszczynski, the head of content marketing and partnerships at GetResponse. And with over 10 years of experience in marketing, he is a pro in developing, implementing, and coordinating all things connected to content marketing projects. Michal, welcome.
Hi, Elisa. Super happy to be here with you and with your guests.
Well, I think the first logical question to ask to someone who's such a content marketing pro is, what are the key components of a successful content marketing, especially for a B2B SaaS company like GetResponse?
Sure. So yeah, definitely I've got most experience with B2B, so my perspective is going to be biased here. But I would say that the key components are understanding the objectives. What do you want to achieve with your content campaigns, with the content plan? The metrics, so knowing how you're going to be measuring these, the completion of the project and the success of the project. Understanding the audience. Naturally, we need to know whom we're doing this for, why we're doing this, what we want to achieve with them, what we want to convince them about, and knowing the distribution channels as well. Every content piece that we work on has to have a clear idea for how it's going to be distributed. You can't just throw in the idea, oh, we're going to SEO optimize it. You have to know where it's going to be sent to, by whom, and how. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I would say these 5 components. I like
It's
to make
almost
sure.
like you cannot get there when you don't know where you're going. So you need to start with where do we want to go, and then kind of go how to get there. And you mentioned metrics.
Mhm.
So I think this is something people struggle with a bit. So speaking about like measuring of success, what type of metrics do you look when you measure success of those campaigns?
Sure. It's pretty tough to know all the numbers to all the metrics. Not everything can be measured. And I've been at a point where I wanted to measure everything, but unfortunately, you can't do that. So I'm not going to say that this is like 100% of what you should be doing. But at the same time, I don't want to just create content for the sake of creating content and think that, it's going to be enough. You have to have a clear idea on what you want to achieve. So the metrics that we're looking for a SaaS company is traffic. So for some, it might be a vanity metric, but this helps us understand how successful we are. Let's say that we're building out a content campaign for a given audience through different channels. So we want to know how many people we reached. Since we focus mostly on the blog content, on resources, we think about the traffic, the number of downloads. We also think about and look at the direct signups from
Yeah.
content. That might be also sometimes difficult to measure because there are just many marketing channels and people are visiting your website at different moments. So they might come to your webinar, read your emails, download your content, and eventually convert through an ad. So, the attribution part is difficult, but I would say these are the key 3 metrics that we're looking at. And now, as of recently, we're actually got a shared metric with other teams and GetResponse, and that is brand share of voice
Oh.
or brand demand, maybe more. So we're looking at the brand mentions from Google Search Console, any keyword that has our brand in there. We're looking at it as a shared metric with other team members. So it helps us understand whether the content campaigns, brand awareness campaigns, everything that we're doing is adding up to people searching more for the terms like GetResponse.
And I really like that it's not siloed, but at the end, it's such a huge ecosystem, and sometimes it takes so much time for a customer to make the final decision. And you, as you said, you never know what's gonna make the final push. So I think it's kind of like a little bit maybe even selfish to say like, oh yes, this is us because this came from our ad, right? But before that, there was so many other factors that came into place. Mm,
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think anyone makes a decision on the spot to purchase a software. So it would be silly to think that, oh, people just came in from a blog post. They had to come up, in their mind that they needed that kind of software. Someone needed to convince them about the
yeah,
need. So there are many things that could have happened along the way.
yeah. And in terms of tools to kind of look at your metrics or optimize content, do you have any favorites you would like to share?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking a lot in GA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Universal Analytics, not as much for the GA4. Still struggling to get my head around it. We use Google Search Console a lot. We use Looker Studio to combine the data from GA and from Google Search Console. On top of that, we use tools like Ahrefs, or I think this one is called Advanced Web Ranking. So this is also helping us understand how we're ranking in terms of SEO, and this helps us better understand, for example, whether if people are not visiting our website as often for a given keyword, is it us or is it a change in SERP, for example, because
Yeah.
there's a featured snippet added, or there are more ads and that kind of stuff. So these metrics, and on top of that, I'm lucky enough to say that I use GetResponse a lot as well, because we run email marketing campaigns, pop-ups, and webinars through our own platform. So I use GetResponse to measure the number of leads that we generate and the click-through rates and open rates directly from our email campaigns.
Yeah. So a kind of like a nice full picture of end to end. Now coming because you're managing quite a big team, so I wanted to talk to you a bit about team management and leadership. So with an array of very diverse projects with different channels and I think even different time zones, how do you structure your team so it works?
Yeah. So the team size and team dynamics has changed over time. So
Mm.
sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller. But I would say that inside GetResponse, there are many people that wear the content hat, but don't necessarily have the content part in their title. So I manage the content and partnerships team, but we work together closely with social media and PR teams, which is a separate team. We work with SEO team and PPC teams, etc. So I think this is important to know as well. And we work with agencies and freelancers that are in
Mhm.
different time zones. So I think the core of it is to have some alignment in terms of working hours.
Yeah.
It's good to have team meetings, and we usually run them around 2 p.m. our time. So that means that's early enough for the people in the States. That's not too late for people that are in the Philippines, for example, or Indonesia, where we have our team members as well. So we try to find a nice mix for them to meet up. And we also run many async projects where we want to. We communicate asynchronously via Slack, via watching recorded meetings on Teams. So I think that's important. There was a time when we were working with folks from the States, and they couldn't meet on time with us because of their life schedule, let's call it,
Yeah.
and it was really difficult. Like, I'm all about working fully remotely. My team is fully remote, but it's good to meet at least online and meet with them in the office. So we try to also do that every few months. I think twice a year, more or less, and if possible, also at conferences. But in terms of skills, people have to wear different hats. So I guess it depends on the role. But in terms of managing the time zones, it's something that's important to remember, is that we have to have these meetings. You can use, for example, tools. We've got a tool called Geekbot that helps us to do status meetings async. So every
Cool.
Monday, every
Yeah.
Friday, we write what we're focusing on this week and what we're challenged by, or what we've managed to achieve. So this also helps to limit the amount of time that we spend in meetings to talk about, like, going through Jira
Yeah, this
tasks.
is like my task for the week, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a moment where I was managing 7 people on a team, and people told me right away that, sitting in a meeting for an hour and a half to go through each person's Jira tasks, it's a waste of their time. And also, we try to keep our team versatile, so not every person has to work on every project. So they might be sitting there for like an hour saying or just listening to stuff that isn't very crucial for them. So we try to mix async and synchronized meetings.
We say no to meetings that could have been an email or a Slack message, right?
Exactly.
The worst nightmare of everyone. And in terms of skills, we are now in this like very dynamic moment where AI is coming in. So I can imagine that the skill set now for a content team is quite different. So what would be your advice to someone who's now recruiting into
Mhm.
a content team? Like what skills you would say like this is an absolute must that like I need to have on my team, or what are the skills that you're personally looking for when you were building a team or when you will be building a team in the future?
Yeah. I like to work with creative and entrepreneurial people. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to have like a one label to them. So they don't have to be a expert copywriter or expert campaign manager. I like to work with people that can wear many hats. And that's, in my opinion, something that's required these days, that you have to be ready to switch between approaches, because at one moment you will be writing an article, at another you'll be appearing on a podcast or doing a webinar,
Yeah.
talking to a customer, or scheduling campaigns with a PPC team. So I would say you have to be able to jump in between these things, and like I would love to work with very skilled, people that excel at a particular thing, like they're an expert copywriter. I think that's a blessing, and that's something that we need at the moment as well. But if you have a more compact team, or you're just building up, you want people that aren't afraid to jump between these things. And in terms of AI, I think that's the biggest thing right now, is that you work with people that aren't afraid of what AI will do, but are curious what AI can do to help us to improve the things,
Yeah.
or to find areas where it's actually lacking, that it's not producing the right content. And I think we've all gone through different phases of approaching AI. There was a moment when I was like super excited about it. Then I was a bit actually discouraged by the results, and like another moment thinking about, oh, will AI take my job? um, all through these phases. And my general feeling now, or general approach, is that to embrace what AI can do for us, use it to simplify some things. Because honestly, when talking with my team members, there are many things that you shouldn't be doing, that the robot, the AI, should do for you, like compressing images, uploading them to CDNs, I don't know, optimizing them, or changing the backlinks in hundreds of articles, etc. There are many mundane things that we need to do, and that ideally would be done by AI. And quite often we find ourselves in the process of creating a content campaign actually asking AI for an assistance, like, okay, what should I think about, or give me, and I tell it a task. For example, I'm doing this and that. Ask me any questions that could help me better understand what's happening there. And it's going to ask me like, who's your target audience? What are the hesitations, etc., etc. So skills wise, I think just find the person or the people that are okay to do different things. Because honestly, sometimes we're writing more content for SEO, especially with B2B SaaS, that's the case. But now with AI answers, overviews, and SGE and search engines, I think that's actually something that we'll have to worry less about, but we'll have to think about how to make your content more valuable, how to provide your own unique perspective to this. So people need to adapt.
Yeah,
That's my
and I
take.
think that that's the thing, like the flexibility and the out of the box thinking, because even when you use AI, we already are kind of in a box. We think like, okay, you have this set of prompts, but what about if I would use it creatively? How can I have a creative dialogue, or how my creative ideas, which is still something uniquely human that no AI can do for now, let's say, but have that dialogue. By the way, now apparently with a Scarlett Johansson voice, because I saw recently everybody's like, "Oh my god, this is like her," like the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
But it is so true. And if you I recently done an experiment to ask AI for something very creative, and for the creative concepting absolutely sucks. But for example, for listening to like looking for music, making music suggestions,
Mm-hmm.
brilliant, saves me hours of time, because I ask it like, I need this specific type of music, give me 5 songs that would fit this description, and eventually I found something out of that. So kind of thinking outside of, oh yeah, like I asked it to prepare, I don't know, like a choreography, and it sucked.
Yeah,
but you can use it for so much more. And I think creative thinking is now the top skill for the future, aside of knowing how to program AI and how to
yeah,
understand AI. But for us creative people, it's just nurturing the creativity and inspiration, because again, throughout our podcast season, the generic theme, and it doesn't matter the topic, the generic theme is being authentic and just kind of very true to yourself, and being able to translate that into your work. So yeah.
yeah. That's true. That's something that resonates with me a lot. And I think with the components, a bit when we were chatting, what's required, I think, like I'm fortunate enough, but also working in an environment where I'm also the target audience. So I create
Mhm.
content for marketers. I graduated from a marketing, course with a degree, and I know how email marketing tools work, what they're used for. And when I hire new people, I also look for people that either use these kinds of tools or they understand the need for it. So
Yeah.
that helps a lot in not just creating content for the search engines or to hit some certain keywords, but to think about like, okay, you have a landing page builder. That landing page builder can be, for example, used for creating your business website, or it could be as a lead gen website, or it could be as a waiting list or a white paper landing page, etc. If you don't have that context, you will not know what to do. But also, when you're talking to customers, you can also refine your approach to content or the narrative, because sometimes what you're thinking about, like for example, I'm preaching certain email marketing best practices, and I repeat it multiple times, but it doesn't hit. So what happens when you talk to customers? You find out, for example, that they understand the need for the tactic, but they don't have the resources. They say, okay, A/B testing is awesome, is important, but I'm a solopreneur. I don't
Yeah.
have time for that. I only have 2 hours to spend on email campaigns per week. Tell me what's the minimum, viable
Yeah.
amount that I should do. And if you don't know the context, you don't talk to your customers, and your team doesn't even interact with the owners, that content will not stick.
Yeah. So what you said there got me wondering. So How do you currently close the feedback loop to customers? Because especially in a big company, it's sometimes difficult to stay close to that customer feedback. So what's your magic way
Yeah.
to stay close to the real life, right?
Yeah. So two things, and again, this is going through different phases. There was a moment where we were very far away from the customers. So if you wanted to reach me, you would have to go through some different obstacles, because we're just stuck in our ways, right? Creating
Mhm.
content for the sake of creating content, but. We do a lot of webinars. So the way we do webinars is actually where we have like a Q&A session, so people can ask us directly questions, give feedback on
Yeah.
what we're telling them. I do workshops as well, so people directly can tell me. This case with A/B testing, for example, came from a workshop that we did the other day in Gdansk, in Poland. On top of that, we are doing proactively outreach campaigns to customers that want to do a case study with us or a consultation with us.
Yeah.
So this is something that we're doing, I would say, manually, but we're adding now that to the whole system. So whenever we're sending out an email campaign, there's always a link. Hey, would you like us to schedule a free consultation? Here's a shared calendar between all my team members where you can pick from a person and chat with them. On top of that, we gather feedback from customers. There are multiple surveys within the app where they can leave that feedback. But I think just adding those feedback loops as much as possible, sharing that with the product management team, product dev team is super important. But also, so the other part, which I didn't mention, like the entrepreneurial part, comes with additional perks. If you have someone that has some side hustles or does some
Yeah.
kind of side projects, they have a passion project, they might use your tool. Or a similar tool outside of their working hours, and they'll tell you, you know what, this is great, this is not working, this is the feedback I'm getting, or this is, I've been trying to achieve this, but it was very hard for me to find the information. So it's probably going to be hard for other users as well. So I think that's useful as well.
Awesome. Um, and in your role, you have also partnerships. So, and I think it's kind of similar to like no content for the sake of content, but also no partnerships just for the sake of partnerships. So, how do you find the right partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
and how does that influence your content strategy?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So again, partnerships can mean many things for many brands. So quick disclaimer. So I know some companies have like partnerships that are affiliate
Yeah.
partnerships or reseller partnerships. I'm working on the co-marketing partnerships. So we try to look for partners that can help us reach the audience. And the ideal partner for us usually is another SaaS brand, but doesn't have to be. So with other SaaS brands, we were looking for companies that have a shared audience with us, that target the same kind of folks, whether it's creators, whether it's publishers, whether it's SaaS companies. We try to find a partner that's there, but that's also active. So, for example, if we do a webinar, we want to ensure that they do their part, which is the promotion, which is the creating the content, that they don't just pitch their services. So we try to align this way, but it's hit and miss sometimes, unfortunately, because with bigger organizations, sometimes it's that the person that's responsible for the initiative, let's say writing an ebook together or doing a webinar, they are not responsible for the email campaigns. So they will promise that, oh yes, we'll promote it to our audience, and then it turns out that only like 20 people from them came over to your landing page, which is discouraging to say the least. But we choose the topics always with our audience in mind. So even if they don't do the promotion, let's say that was promised, we ensure that the content part is there, so that even our audience, if they learn about this tool or about this use case, they will learn something new, that they will be able to run their campaigns more effectively. So that's one part of it. And the other types of partnerships that we look at these days is with I would say more influencers or creators that understand our audience slightly better than bigger brands. So let's say that we're trying to reach affiliate marketers or creators. We will find someone that's also targeting this audience or is a creator and affiliate themselves and can tell their story in a compelling way. So then we don't probably want them to promote it as much, but we've seen actually with these kinds of folks that they're more I don't know, more helpful actually than bigger brands. There's fewer hoops to jump over,
And
and
it's more
the
personal, right? It's also
exactly,
the factor that's, I guess, if a brand tells you something about the product, it's always like, but if you have someone who's you can see this genuine enthusiasm, then you will be more inclined to give it a try.
exactly. And I've seen that these people tell you the real story. They don't have like a hidden agenda most of the time, so they'll tell you as it is. And uh, again, this comes down to like who content marketers are. Sometimes they are full-time employed to create content and they don't interact with the product or with the audience so much, so they might not really tell you the actual story. They will tell you what they think they know about the audience and how the tool should be used. And with these folks, like influencers, they've built their own brand themselves. They run email campaigns themselves. They do lead gen, etc. They know all the struggles and benefits of doing these things, so they'll tell you the real story. So these are the partnerships that we're looking at, and yeah, I guess it depends on the situation, but we try to mix it.
Mm, yeah, and I guess, well, it's so hard to predict the future, but let's play, the person with the ball, the magical ball. Looking ahead, how do you see the role of content marketing evolving? And looking especially at the our industry, tech industry, in a way, what is your prediction, if any, if we can predict anything, right?
Yeah, uh, I don't like predictions because usually they they miss the mark. But I would
What
say,
is your gut feeling? Let's
yeah, my gut
maybe
feeling
that's
is
better.
I think especially with the latest changes with AI and Google's algorithm changes, I think it will be a good time to come back to the origins, to creating valuable content for
Mhm.
the audience and focus less on the SEO optimized listicle posts, where we compare ourselves to competitors, that we create best of posts that drive the biggest amount of conversions but aren't necessarily as valuable for the audience. But we will come back, in my opinion, to the content that's actually based on your own experience, where you say as it is, rather than think about, oh, what would appear the best on search, how do people search that information. But it's tricky. For example, I'm surprised that Reddit and these kinds of sites have been ranking more positively lately. And a few years back, an SEO expert told me that this is the future that's going to happen, that you have to create more content outside of your own
Mhm.
website. And I remember my immediate answer was like, what? You're an SEO expert. Why would you invest money and resources into content outside of your website? That's not going to be evergreen. You cannot update it, etc., etc. But I think this is the truth these days, that you want to have a whole spectrum of content in different places, whether it's LinkedIn, it's Reddit, it's Quora, it's Medium, all these kinds of places, and you have to also make sure that people mention you. So no one thing will work in isolation. So you gotta
Exactly.
keep building links, do all these things, but my my prediction is that we'll have more valuable content in the future because the mediocre content can be created by AI.
And
So,
people will smell it from millions, in the ever changing pace of
oh,
today's social media.
Yes, yes. Whenever I see that on social media or in articles, I'm like, not reading
It's
further.
almost like, please just like
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, and I think AI will improve in that term. So that will be changed. We will see less of that content, but I think uh, because people are searching differently these days, younger folks are searching on TikTok. They want immediate answers. Google is also giving you immediate answers with featured snippets. We will lose a bit of traffic.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of traffic. So that's the unfortunate part for marketers, for advertisers, publishers. But people will come to your website for more in-depth knowledge, and that's what we have to prove that we have the data to prove it, that we've tested something, that we've analyzed it, and hopefully that will be enough for the folks to actually trust your brand more and come back to you.
In a way, it's more challenging because I can make a nice loop to a conversation we had here on community management, but I'm almost it's kind of my optimistic prediction what I would like to see where this is going, that we will come back to what it originally supposed to be, a community where
Yeah,
you go for information, but you go also for help, and you go also for enrichment, in the sense that, of course, like I can search for, what is the best tool for email marketing, let's say. uh, but what I'm really searching for is how to fix my current problem. How can this best tool, I mean, best for whom, right? That's also,
yeah,
like, what is the best tool for me in my specific situation with my budget, my needs, my team size, whatever. And if there's someone out there who can help me with that, especially in a very easy way, that's golden. That's like you got a very then like super loyal customer that will love you forever, because I think that's what people generally look for right now, is not just an answer, but also someone who will tell them, you know what, it's gonna be okay. We have something for you and it's gonna be okay.
that's
I
true.
think that's the unfortunately state of humanity right now, but yeah.
It's true. No, I think that's a good thing, and we're also seeing this. We get this feedback from our customers. This is where we want to go into as well in the future. It's like you have to be more community focused, customer centric. Talk to your audience and create products for this audience. And if they need support, they need live chat support or phone call support or support in a community. Like you have to offer it, because there are just many similar tools out there. But what is it that's going to make you different? And for the folks that we work with, they're busy people that they have to juggle multiple things, and knowing that they will get an answer within a couple of minutes is super important. And they're actually willing to pay more for professional services, for additional stuff, if we can provide that. It's not just about another platform with a nice dashboard, whatever. Like, the platforms in the end are all similar. They have the similar features and UI because of the trends, but there has to be something more about it, and they have to like your brand and see that others also like it and recommend it. So it's a loop of things that need to work together for your content
Yeah.
to work.
And also more and more that the kind of brand needs to fit you ethically as well. I see that more and more as well, that people, they care what does your brand stand for. That has become a thing as well. So you need to sometimes even have a statement on certain topics for people to be able to identify with you with.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a nice utopian picture, that we have brands that love us and we love them back. Hopefully that's the vision that's gonna fulfill, rather than an AI apocalypse.
Yeah. I think Gen Z will help out with that. They are looking for ethically, focused brands. They want to make sure that they work with like the brands that they actually can feel good about, where the I don't know, materials are sourced from, what their stance on particular topics is. And when you look at European audiences, that's actually super important. We were in Germany like 2 weeks ago, and people are asking, "Where's your servers? Do you have a German local team here?" The same in Italy. They want to have a local representative. Even though we had people that speak English and German, their immediate answer is like, "I'm happy to speak German." So it's those little things. We say that you can do online business, you can sign contracts and everything online, but people like to talk to people and do business with people that they like. So they have to also like your brand.
Awesome. Oh, it's such a positive way, because we're heading slowly towards the end of our conversation, but before we say final goodbyes, at the end of it all, we always have this like informal, we call it the cat's purr, the personal questions. So, first question is, what's your favorite social media platform and why?
For business, I'm gonna say LinkedIn, because I learn a lot there, and this is probably where I get most inspiration from. But for losing time and mindless watching, it's TikTok, unfortunately.
Oh, you got sucked into TikTok.
Yes.
I had a pause from TikTok, and then I went to do something, check something on it, and I'm immediately hooked back. So
The algorithm is really good. It suggests such good content based on what you're watching. Like at one time it was football tricks. At another time is a guy finding anyone on anywhere on the map, randomly based on like a short video, or just comedians. Anything that's right now your vibe, it shows you that.
my vibe apparently is doggies and food.
That's always the good things.
Yeah, but I love TikTok recipes, so that's it. And is there anything you read, watch, or listen to right now that you would like to recommend to our listeners?
Yeah. So I definitely jump between topics, so it's hard to pick one. And the latest book I read was Anxious Generation. So it was,
Oh,
yeah.
I heard
So
about that one. Yeah.
yeah, my wife told me to read it because she's a kindergarten teacher and we have two young boys. So it's a good book that helps you better understand the impact of social media, of computers, and like the way we communicate these days on younger folks. So like I'm becoming more aware of the other side, because obviously I was hooked on Facebook the moment it was created, but it helps me understand that it's not all positive stuff. So I'm like, for example, my son he's 6, asking me about the phone, when he's gonna
Yeah.
get a phone, because he wants to play
Everyone
games.
has it. Yeah.
Yeah, or Nintendo. Like, we're gonna wait with that. But another book that I read was, let me check the title, was Leading with the Heart. Funnily enough, is a book that was recommended in a TV show. And there's a TV show called The Bear, where they run
Yeah.
a restaurant, and they multiple times they mentioned Mike Krzyzewski, who is a famous coach in the US, basketball coach. And I read his book, quite a short one, but it helps you actually build that leadership thinking. And it was a really cool show about different folks working together against all the odds to run a restaurant. And like, after reading this book, like, it showed me the many aspects of a leader that one should develop and work on, because it's always work in progress.
Yeah. There is also a great book by Brené Brown. Brené Brown is the evangelist of vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
and she has a book on leadership, on vulnerable leadership. And it's essentially, it's funny because like we talked about authentic content, but it speaks to, I think we are just in a desperate need of being yourself and opening your heart in so many areas, and it goes into leadership as well. I think
Absolutely.
the old school way of I'm gonna be fenced off, and it's gonna be it's not gonna work
It's not gonna
anymore.
work. Yeah, being there didn't work. Yeah, it's definitely hard. It's the emotions have to come out somewhere,
Yeah.
so it's good to be authentic at work.
Yeah, and in a way, we the fact that we were locked up for such a long time, but then I never forget, I used to work in big corporate, and it was so shocking for everyone that all of a sudden you could see the homes of all the executives, and it's almost like, oh my god, they're people. They're people like you and me. They have, oh my god, they have books, they have, or one of our bosses had such a messy background, and we were always like, oh my god. But I think it because we got to see, the dogs, the kids, the sometimes the mess, sometimes the daily life kicking in, and I that's the good part. I think that there is now a way more space in the
Mhm.
leadership to say, okay, this is who I am, this is the real me, and I want to get to know the real you, and it's safe.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I think the pandemic, messed up many things in our minds, and I still see that it's easier now to say no to like social interactions, meetings, but you have to do it because people just so easily can close off and not talk to each other for
Yeah.
for many months or just focus on the work. But we need that. We are social beings. We need our tribes, we need our groups, do something outside of work, outside of home, especially like with younger kids. It's so easy to just say no to anything and just be at home and not necessarily happy always about the stuff.
So connection is the key. And the final
Absolutely.
question of all question, dogs or cats?
Uh, so I'm one of those people that would say both, but cats and dogs, like
Why
I
to
had.
choose? Of course.
Yeah, why choose, right? But yeah, I had both dogs and cats. But recently, in this year, we actually bought a cat, and it was a decision based on what's easier to run to manage, and we borrowed that dog from my friend, and for a week, waking up at 7 a.m., arranging the time from work, commuting back to work, then picking up the children, kindergarten, etc. It's just too much to handle,
Yeah.
and cats are so low maintenance, and there are breeds that can act kind of like a dog, not necessarily like a
Which
dog.
one are those? Tell me.
So we have a Maine Coon, and they're like
Oh, they are
super
so
friendly.
nice. They are
Yeah,
so good.
they're super cool, super friendly. So right now, I would say I'm a team cat a bit more, but like give me a golden retriever and like I'm all over for it.
Wow, but that's also the ultimate dog. I think if there's a blueprint for a dog, golden retriever is the ultimate dog. But
Yeah.
yeah. All right, Michal, thank you so much for the inspirational talk as well. If people want to find you, what's the best way to find you and connect?
Sure, yeah, and they can visit LinkedIn, which I said is my favorite social media. So just go to LinkedIn and search for Michal Leszczynski without the Polish letters, and you'll find me. And you can just go to GetResponse.com as well. And if there's a webinar or a blog post, there's a chance my name will be somewhere there as well. Because
Somewhere on it. And by the way, webinars by GetResponse are really awesome.
I appreciate that.
I am a huge fan, so please check it out. All right, guys, that's it for us in this episode. As usual, if you liked it, recommend it to a friend, listen to it with your cat, like and subscribe and all that. And until then, have a terrific time. Bye.
Bye.